Hey guys, I'm Pixel Dan, and this is a review of the Tales of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Wanted, Bebop and Rocksteady. That's right, my friends, we are winding down on the Nickelodeon TMNT action figure series from Playmates Toys. The final episodes of the show just aired, which were the Wanted, Bebop and Rocksteady episode featuring Rocksteady and Bebop, straight out of the 80s cartoon, brought into the Nick Turtles universe. It's definitely one of those things that is a little bittersweet. I love this series so much. It's so sad to see it come to an end, but at least we got some really fun stuff at the end of the series, and we've got some new action figures to go right along with it. So let's go ahead and check these two out. As you can see, they come in the same style Tales of the TMNT packages, but with a little bit of a twist. It's got Bebop and Rocksteady up there at the top, some cool purple bricks, and it does say Wanted Bebop and Rocksteady right there on the blister bubble, letting you know that this is the 80s version of both Rocksteady and Bebop. On the back side of those boxes, we just have one cross-sell showing you the three figures from the Wanted Bebop and Rocksteady episode, which also features 80s Leonardo, which is Leonardo in the trench coat disguise. Pretty cool stuff, and we'll be taking a look at him next. But for now, let's go ahead and get these two ripped open and check them out. Alright, so here we go. 80s Bebop and 80s Rocksteady. So it's pretty noticeable, especially as soon as you take them out of the packaging, that these guys do in fact share the exact same sculpts of the already released Bebop and Rocksteady in this particular line. They basically just gave them a new coat of paint and a few minor new accessories to kind of make them resemble their 80s counterparts. Now, I don't really mind so much that they look just like the modern Bebop and Rocksteady, because that's exactly the way it should be. When they crossed over in the cartoon series, they did kind of look the same as the modern Bebop and Rocksteady. They just were wearing the outfits and had the personalities of the versions from the 80s cartoon series. So let's look at these guys individually so I can show you exactly what I mean. And we'll go ahead and start things off with Bebop here. So he is a bit of the more slender Bebop like we've seen, but one thing about the figure is he was never quite as slender as Bebop appeared in the series, so you can see he is a bit heftier up here at the top with the skinnier legs there. It's the exact same sculpt that we already got before, so even though the paint and everything does a good job of looking like the colors that the classic Bebop wore, you'll notice all of the hues and the hints and all of the deco and design that comes straight off of the current Bebop's Tron-like costume. Look at the arms here. Even though his arms are bare, you can see all the line work etched in, the weird little rectangular piece up here. You can see all the lines etched into his skin, on his chest there, and the same thing running all the way down the legs. In fact, the shoes that he's wearing, while they're very cool looking, they kind of look like Chuck Taylor's, you know, with the white on the front and the red shoes there. You can see that they're not actually sculpted that way. These are still the boots from the other Bebop. They just painted them. So they painted shoes over the boot sculpt that is already there. As far as new things go, they did give him this new little accessory piece here, this belt going around his chest with the little chain belt. It's one sculpted piece, and that is really nice because that does look a lot like the chain belt and everything that the classic Bebop wore. And they also glued this little turtle shell onto his shoulder pad over here. But all the rest of him is still exactly the same, including the wheels. He's got the little wheels still on the back of his shoes and the back of his back there for the little sliding around gimmick that kind of mimics some of the things that he did in the series as the new version of Bebop. He does have the nice bright purple mohawk, which I really like, still wearing the same kind of visor piece there. So all in all, I mean, he looks cool, and at first glance, you know, those classic colors and the neat little addition of the chain belt and everything do make a huge difference, but he still has all of the sculpted details of the costume that the current Bebop wears. And of course, articulation is the same. If you've already got that figure, he does just have the standard cut at the neck there. He's got ball joints at the shoulders so they can go forwards and backwards, but no other articulation in the arms, no bends at the elbows. He does have the hinge-like joints at the thighs so legs can go outwards, forwards, and backwards and swivel. And then he's got standard joints at the knees, nothing else in the feet. So it's basic articulation, and like I said, exactly what we got with the previous version of Bebop. And then with his weapons, he even gets the same weapons from the modern Bebop, being the weird little mine and the hand grenade. And he can hold those in his hands just fine, and they're unpainted, but they are the same weapons from the modern Bebop, instead of something that the classic Bebop would have used, like that cool little blaster that the vintage figure came with. That would have been a neat accessory for this guy to have instead. So let's bring it on over to Rocksteady. Again, the exact same thing is going on here. They use the exact same sculpt, but they've added some new details. So all of this is the same as what we had before, even down to the little sickle and the little hammer that are sculpted onto his hands, you know, for that modern version of Rocksteady. But the new additions on here, first of all, they added these really big shoes over the rhino hooves that the other version had. So he does have more feet, like actual like humanoid kind of feet this time around. But I gotta say these look pretty goofy because they are incredibly oversized in order to fit over those hoof sculpts. They don't seem to come off. I mean, they are on there pretty good. You could probably pry those off if you really wanted to, but it's a cool way, I guess, to use the same sculpt and add the boots, but they do look a bit oversized because they're fitted over the figure instead of just being sculpted boots. In addition to that, he does have a little bandolier around his chest there, very similar to Bebop, so they gave him a different one than the other version of Rocksteady had, but it's still the same sculpt underneath, same spiky shoulder pads. They just painted him to look more like that classic cartoon Rocksteady this time, and the one other new addition they added is the turtle shell helmet, which actually is removable, and I kind of like that. You can pull that right off the figure if you want to, and it's a nice touch, and honestly, that helmet makes a huge difference in looking like Rocksteady, I think, so that's a pretty cool little touch. His articulation's a lot more basic than Bebop's, with just the head being able to move side to side, the arms being able to move up and down at the shoulders, and the legs kind of being able to move forwards and backwards, and that is all you're going to get with that guy. Oh, and we got a waist twist there too, but that is all we're going to get with him, so you're not going to get a lot of posing options. And for his weapons, he comes with, you guessed it, the sickle and the hammer. Same weapons from the modern version of Rocksteady. Doesn't really fit with the 80s version. Again, I kind of wish they would have gave him a gun of some sort, because I think that would have fit in a little bit better. Alright guys, it's comparison time. So, because I keep talking about how they're the same sculpt as the already released versions, let's look at them side by side just so you can see what I'm talking about. And you can really see the new things that are added on there, and the new paint details that really differentiate these guys. And of course, for fun, we've got to bring in those vintage Bebop and Rocksteady action figures so we can look at them side by side. And especially with Bebop, you can really see the similarities there. The vintage Rocksteady action figure looked a little bit different than he did in the cartoon series, and this new Rocksteady is definitely trying to mimic more of that cartoon look, but it's still fun to look at them side by side. So there you go, my friends. There is a look at Wanted, Bebop and Rocksteady, coming to you straight out of the final aired episode of the 2012 Nickelodeon TMNT cartoon series. So I gotta say, these are still solid action figures. They're total repaints, and I appreciate the new stuff that they added on there to make them look more like the 80s versions. And I don't know, it's a weird thing because when I was reviewing all of the other repaints that have come out, one of the things I kept saying is I felt like they should have been repainting those figures with the vintage toy colors. And well, that's exactly what Playmates did here, so I don't know, am I allowed to complain about that? I'm not real sure. I do still think they look fun. If you skipped the other versions of Bebop and Rocksteady, maybe these are the versions you'd rather have instead because they look more like those classic versions. Nonetheless, these are hitting store shelves right now. I found mine at Target. They also seem to be showing up at places like Toys R Us, and like I said, guys, this is it. This is the final set of figures from this particular series of TMNT before it reboots next year. So happy hunting, my friends. Hey guys, thank you so much for watching this video. If you enjoyed it, please hit the like button. Leave me a comment. Let me know what you think of these figures and how they were done. And don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss out on any of my TMNT toy reviews. Until next time, my friends.